This is possibly an alien implant.
Well, if you look, there's actually a piece of the chip sticking out and what appears to be these fibers that were moving on their own. And then it looks like this chip or whatever this is, this foreign object, is encapsulated by some sort of biological material.
Yesterday, I received this text. Hey, Patrick, what if I told you that I know where the implant that Lou is talking about came from, and I actually have video of it as well as an interview with Gary Nolan talking about why he didn't study it? I would say, I want to see it. So stay tuned for next week when I'll reveal who sent me that text, and we'll go over it. Now, what implant are we talking about? Here's a picture of it. Now, in today's video, I'm going to be going over 3 different parts of Luis Elizondo's interview on Confessions of a UFO Hunter on the News Nation special, because in that special is where he shows a picture of this implant, right, and talks a little bit more of its backstory, as well as we're going to cover parts of Luis Elizondo's remote viewing power? I don't know. Superpower? I don't really, honestly, I don't know what to call it. Ability, I guess is the best way to put it. So stay tuned. This is going to be a great video. Now, in this first clip, Luis Elizondo is going to be talking about just UAP interactions in general and what can come from that, right? A physical ailment or, right, some sort of poisoning, radiation poisoning or something, right? Some sort of physical or mental effect from interacting with a UAP. Now, after that, we'll get to the clip of the implant, an actual physical piece of something they put in you, right? This non-human intelligence, if they interact with you, right? Which is taking it to another level. So let's start with this first clip of just talking about people who have had interactions with UAP, specifically military service members. Let's go.
Former Pentagon UFO investigator Lou Elizondo writes in his new book, Imminent, that non-human intelligence has been engaging with humans for decades. So what do they want? There are many commentators who say they're friendly. They're no threat at all to humanity. Can we assume that?
Well, I think in order to understand if something is a threat, from a national security perspective, it's a very simple calculus. It's capabilities versus intent. We see some of the capabilities, and by the way, we can't replicate them. We have no idea the intent. So to presume or to assume that these things are friendly or they're hostile, there's not enough data.
Elizondo says the Pentagon's UFO investigators were keenly interested in the impact UAPs were having on individuals, especially military personnel.
There's enough reports that substantiate that not all these interactions are necessarily benign or peaceful. Some people leave terrified, some people leave injured. There are U.S. service people. There is people that are on full 100% disability right now from the U.S. government because of an interaction with UAP. And it's in writing, by the way, from the U.S. government because of their involvement in an incident.
Indeed, the Veterans Administration has granted full medical disability benefits to this man, Airman John Burroughs, for injuries to his heart and eyes he claims he suffered during the famous 1980 UAP incident in Rendlesham Forest, England. And Elizondo says that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Now, in this second clip, we're going to hear from Luis Elizondo talking about this purported implant. And again, I will be next week revealing more information about that implant that is not public. So stay tuned to Vetted and subscribe if you haven't already. But let's get to the second clip. Luis Elizondo talking about this particular implant.
Did you, in any of your UAP investigations, come across evidence of alleged abductions of humans by non-human beings?
We came across information that suggested that people were having things put inside their body that they did not give approval to.
So people have been taken away from their homes in the middle of the night and had things planted in them.
Something that was put inside their body, something invasive, right? Something that was not put there by their permission to do something.
You've seen one of those implants, haven't you?
I have been privy to some very interesting things.
This photo, he says, shows one of those interesting things. It's allegedly a biological sample removed from a US service member and submitted for analysis. This is possibly an alien implant.
Well, if you look, there's actually a piece of the chip sticking out and what appears to be these fibers that were moving on their own. And then it looks like this chip or whatever this is, this foreign object, is encapsulated by some sort of biological material.
Could that not be something biological, microbiological, or parasitic?
Well, it's certainly the outside looks like it's some sort of masking device. In essence, you have a foreign object, which it's a metallic object in there, and it seems to be encapsulated by some sort of biological material.
But how do you know it's not just a bit of metal that somebody's knocked into on a building site?
Well, in this particular case, this was moving on its own. It was actually had its own metabolic activity, and it terrified one of the doctors who was looking at this under a microscope. Said they didn't want to see this again.
But are UAPs abducting people at random, or are they drawn to certain individuals? Elizondo says research has revealed an intriguing pattern among UAP experiences in a fascinating part of the brain.
This is a part of the brain known as the quadrate putamen, and it is a very specific part of the brain. It's responsible for all sorts of stuff, and some have even speculated precognition
But certainly intuition.
Intuition for sure.
Elizondo says the caudate putamen is larger in people with alleged psychic powers, what the government has called remote viewing. What about people who've had UAP experiences?
Very interesting. The same thing. And by the way, that's not me telling you. These are medical doctors and scientists.
Stanford immunologist Dr. Gary Nolan has been researching this topic, and while his conclusions are not definitive, there are two working theories. One, that people with naturally large caudate putamen might attract UAPs like an antenna. Another, that UAP encounters with normal people cause that same part of the brain to get bigger.
And there's a lot of information to substantiate that this is real morphology occurring in the human brain.
Elizondo argues that people with enhanced caudate putamen might have a talent both for remote viewing and communicating with UAPs. And that's important because it's an established fact that the Pentagon has had an interest in remote viewing for military purposes.
Now, I cannot wait to find out who this implant came from, where it is, what's happening with it, and why didn't Gary Nolan want to study it. So stay tuned. Now, in this last clip, Luis Elizondo is going to be talking about his own remote viewing capabilities. Let's take a look.
The vernacular used to call it psychic espionage. There was a program in the U.S. government, it's called Stargate. They were taking young soldiers and civilians, and they were training them to conduct espionage behind enemy lines. And the term was called remote viewing. A lot of people that were in the remote viewing program had MRIs done of their brains, and a vast majority have that specific morphology. Do I think it's extraordinary? No, it may be a vestigial capability that humans had for a long time.
But does it work?
Oh, it absolutely works. It absolutely works.
You see, remote viewing has been discredited. The CIA determined that it doesn't work.
Okay, sure.
You're saying it does work?
It absolutely works.
Lou says he knows it works because he was trained in remote viewing himself.
I don't like to really publicly talk about it. My involvement was only tangential.
There's a story you tell of a terrorist suspect, and there was a remote viewing operation done that you were part of.
Yes, we did an experiment. Probably shouldn't have, but we did. And long story short, it appeared to be very effective.
That alleged capability for remote viewing and its potential connection to non-human intelligence may sound like a gift. But Lou says it was also at least partially a curse.
So there you have it, y'all. Again, don't forget, I will be going over this text right here that I received yesterday evening. I will be revealing who sent it to me, and we will be revealing who the implant came from, and hopefully some of this video of Gary Nolan talking about why he didn't want to study it, and potentially some video of the implant itself. We do have this picture, but a video would go a long way. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to subscribe so you can stay ahead of the game here when I release this video next week about this implant. So anyway, thank y'all for watching. We'll see you guys on tomorrow's video. Remember, every day's a gift, y'all. Peace!
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched me weep.